We're going to be looking over a REST example, and this is for creating. Next, we're going to look at a REST example for retrieving, REST example for updating and deleting, but those will be in the playlist linked below the like button. This one we're setting up our actual Eclipse file, and then we're going to be doing this for, again, the retrieval, update, and delete. This one we're doing a create. So for this, first thing we got to do is either go into our Eclipse or Spring Initializer and make a project. We're going to do Maven project Java 2.71 based, and we're going to do a Spring Web application on a jar 8. We're calling this REST service 1. So we are going to want to generate this and put this into our Eclipse via the import. And we are importing this as a Maven project. So once inside of here, it's going to look something like how we have on the left. Now, not exactly though, because we have some more packages that we don't initially have. We want to create these packages to better organize things. So we make an employee as an entity to use. The first thing that we have though, this is going to be generated for us right here. And this is our REST service 1 application. And this is going to be in our com example REST service. So that's this first thing right here. This is to run our Spring Boot application. The next thing is employee, and we're going to make a new package in our src main Java. It's going to be com.example.dao. And inside of our Eclipse, we're just making an entity. So we have our variables here, and then we make getters and setters, as well as a default and a parameterized constructor for it. We have a employee DAO, and this is a .java file that's also going to be created inside of the same package. This one's going to be a little bit different. So inside of this one, we can see that we have two imports, hashmap and map. We're also going to want to import the Spring Framework stereotype.repository. We want to mark this as a repository, but we'll come back to that in a little bit. So every time this class runs, we're going to have a few things that execute. We're going to have access to this map, and this map is where we have a employee map set to a new hash map. We have a few things that are static, and it's going to be everything except our add employee. The reason why all of this is static is because we only want it to be created once, right? So we see that this static calls this static. So maybe this should be before our map. So the first thing is that this happens. It's going to call this static right here. Once the static is called, all of these employees are going to be created with our employee.java. We can see that they're also all going to be put into our map. They're going to be put into our map with the employee number and the employee 1. And the employee number is just going to be this first part right here. And the employee 1, 2, 3 is just this actual instance of each employee. So we're putting them inside of here. And this is a private static, so we only create this map once. And then after this, we have an add employee. And this is in case if we ever just want to add something into our map. So that's going to be it for this. Again, we have our add repository here. Next, we want to make a main REST controller. So we're going to make a new package, call it com.example.controller, and then we're going to put our main REST controller inside of here. And it's going to look something like this. Now we can put this on one line so we can see it better, but we'll come back to our request mapping in a second. We can see that we have a request controller, or a REST controller, and that's going to tie in with annotations that we have like right here. So we have our @REST controller. This is the controller for this. The class is responsible for invoking all REST calls and customizing them to be RESTful for our service. We need to use the REST controller so we can use this annotation. We are going to, inside of here, have private employee DAO. We're just making an instance of this class so that we can use it later. We have this request mapping, and this was just provided by the video. So I'm assuming that we have this value set to /employee. That might be something with how we were able to locate it. Our method is the request method.post. And remember, with CRUD, we have post, get, put, and delete. Post is where we are making something. So this corresponds to creating something. We're basically doing this request method, and we are doing .post, meaning create. So this method we are creating, and it produces, we'll just put this on a new line. Remember, there is a comma right here though, so it is the same thing. We have this produces, and inside of here we have media type, .application JSON file, and then comma media type application XML file. So we'll probably be working with two different file types in a little bit. And then we have our public employee, add employee, and this is where we're adding an employee. So we can do @request body, and we're going to request our employee, and we're just storing this as EMP, and this is for our, again, request body. And then inside of here, we have a sysout.println where we do server side create employee, and then we add the emp.get employee number. So we're just getting the employee number of this employee. And then once we do that, we're going to return, since it's returning an employee, we want to return an employee DAO.add employee EMP. So we're going to be calling this to add an employee, and we're going to be using this entity. So that's how we would look at a REST example for retrieval. Next, in the playlist link below, like button, we'll go over REST examples for update and delete.